from Belle Isle Park in Detroit, Michigan, it's time for the Verizon IndyCar Series on the Advance Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network.
How about a doubleheader weekend to follow up the 102nd running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race? Welcome to qualifying on Belle Isle in Detroit. I'm Mark James, happy to be joined by our driver analyst, Anders Krohn. And Anders, interesting day of practice yesterday, but it looks as though, for one, Andretti Autosport has unloaded pretty fast here at Belle Isle.
Yeah, they have indeed, and clearly they have a shock program figured out. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, just how big of a struggle this weekend. He clearly have that RLL car really dialed in.
A drastic change in conditions, and starting with conditions first, and Michael Young.
Thank you, Mark. To what we have today, high 80s, low 90s yesterday. This morning when we woke up, it was in the low 50s here in the Detroit metro area. 57 conditions, 73 the temperature currently on track. So completely different. Not that you can throw out everything you learned yesterday, but certainly one of the most exciting formats you'll see in any form of motorsports. Here to explain, our very own Dave First.
Yeah, a special doubleheader weekend certainly deserves some special qualifying this weekend as well here on the streets of Belle Isle. Here's the situation. 2 qualifying groups, 12-minute qualifying session with 5 minutes of guaranteed green here this morning. The fastest in each session then determines the front row. The fastest between those 2 drivers will start positions behind them according to their flip-flop. So Group 1 this morning, James.
Given the circumstances, the format makes a lot of sense.
I think it absolutely does. Even Super Trucks, some Trans Am race cars, and then IMSA warm-ups. So, yeah, I definitely think the second group's going to be significantly quicker. So I doubt we're going to see the pole position coming out of this group. But what will be interesting to see is just how late these guys decide to bolt on the fire. Those. Got a couple of turn announcers out on the course to help us call this qualifying. The latest Indy 500.
Will Power was the first one out. Handed turn. I watched them make that turn, and then they set up coming into my
Yeah, a lot of fun to watch these drivers barrel down that back straightaway and make their way into my view. It's a right-hand 90-degree right-hand turn of turn number 7. Last year's winner who swept the weekend, Graham Rahal, makes his way through. And those tires that you hear squealing is of Scott Dixon, who very nearly put it in the tire barrier with some drivers getting sideways all weekend long down here in turn 7.
Group number 1, Dixon, Newgarden, Rahal, Rossi, Veach, Power, Chilton. Last time in session 2.
Yes, they do indeed. But look at who's each comes in and has a really good lap time. I think the interesting strategy here at play is that of Max Chilton and Santino Ferrucci, both on the Firestone Reds. So they're going to try to go back-to-back Firestone Reds, and that's a good tactic if you think you might not have the outright pace without doing that. So good opportunity for Santino Ferrucci to get some additional track time on the Firestone Reds to try and vault him up near the mid-pack.
Zach Veach had a pretty good day yesterday. Jake Query, couple of top 10s in the 2 practice sessions.
Yep, Zach Veach now, as I'm awaiting him come in. I'll tell you what, when he navigated here through turn number 6, he went a little bit wide. That car, Anders, when they come through 6 and it's that right-handed turn, it seems as though the balance of the quickly to make sure that you're getting back in the center groove.
Yeah, and it's a difficult thing because you want to cross the
King in that garage working on the car himself. So kudos to that Englishman as he's made his way through turn number 7. Here comes his teammate Spencer Piggott looking pretty fast in that bright green Fuzzies car, all clear of turn 7.
You're going to earn favor with your race team if you park one to the fence and then you hang around to help him.
Oh boy, you don't want to do that on your Firestone Red.
He's on the blacks getting ready to go. The format's changed. We see drivers now at the 4.5-minute mark heading to pit road for those Reds.
Yeah, and all of them have to go onto the Firestone Reds at this point. Here's Spencer Piggott in our shot. Want to pit now to make sure you have sufficient time on the Firestone Reds, but yeah, you're quite right. They just need to make it happen here on the Firestone Reds, and that was a mighty impressive last lap for Will Power to go. A little bit more of a manageable torque curve, so it means when you go to power, it's a little.
Talking about Spencer Piggott still on.
Quick, try to get a little. So far, so good. Alexander, not more grip in the nose of this car.
This weekend, let's welcome in Ryan Marine.
The weekend here at Detroit last and 3rd fastest on the time charts on the blacks. He's set to go to the Reds here shortly if he's not gone out already. So Graham Rahal looking to secure another good front row starting position at Detroit.
Jake Query, we did see Zach Veach pass you. Charlie Kimball works his way by Power, and then just about, a couple of 100 yards behind him, you'll see that PNC Bank machine of Scott Dixon come into your view.
It was Joe Newgarden that went past and said
that 12 machine.
Yeah, Power must have just come in and put on those softer red tires because he really is not up to speed. He kind of let everybody get past. He's got Zach Beach behind him, but the
creep through turn number 7 as he's trying to find a little space. He does have about a 10 to 15 car length advantage over Zach Beach as they make their way through turns 7 and 8. Then Jordan King, another 20 car lengths back with Mark Janes. Some of these drivers like Will Power just now getting up to speed on those alternate reds.
A minute and a half remaining in this session. It's Power, Dixon, Rossi, Rahal, Piggott, Newgarden, Ferrucci, Chilton, King, Veach, and Charlie Kimball.
Yeah, it is, and we're going to see all these big lap times get thrown down here with 1 minute 20 to go. And I've been watching Scott Dixon's car for the last lap and a half as he's gone by, and I think we've seen the Andretti car, so it'll be very interesting to see if that pays off for him here. Running with the front anti-roll bar attached, and that makes it very, very difficult to drive across the bumps.
A new livery for the 27 of Alexander Rossi, Nick Yeoman. You'll see that Ruoff Home Mortgage car come into your view shortly.
Yep, it's a Navy car with some green accents. Alexander Rossi, the car got a little sideways exiting turn number 7. He's got Spencer Pickett behind him, but Alexander Rossi on a flyer here in the final minutes of qualifying.
How about Joseph Newgarden? He comes to turn 6 and Jake Query.
Newgarden has in front of him Charlie Kimball. Now we await for Newgarden. There he comes into view. Boy, I'll tell you what, he got a little bit high on the outside to keep a line that was pretty clean. Already through, and Joseph Newgarden setting sail for you, Nick.
And Newgarden swings that car to the left and the right down the back straightaway. Now makes his way through turn number 7. The left side tires get so close to the turn 7 wall at exit. Hitachi Tools, a sponsorship this weekend for Newgarden.
Number 1, 4.5 tenths quicker. Alexander Rossi, and as the checkered flag is now out, can he do anything? I mean, that must have been a majestic lap for Scott Dixon.
Yeah, Will Power comes off of turn number 12 and takes the checkered flag. We'll see where Power lands. Right now, he is P3 in this group. So Dixon with a quick lap. Power with a quick lap at the 115s, but not quick enough. Let's go back to turn 6 and Jake Query.
I think it was a very slight brush, but Mark, I'm not sure where Graham Rahal stands in terms of the speeds here, but when he was exiting turn number 5, he had
Sanders, he hasn't cleared the checkers yet.
Yeah, and his car is just so free. Exactly that driving style we've seen Alexander Rossi do all year long. What's his next lap? No! 700ths of a second slower than Scott Dixon. I don't think there's going to be anyone that can beat it. Third.
P3.
But 4 tenths behind Scott Dixon. What can Will Power do? Up to third.
Scott Dixon is P1. Alexander Rossi, Newgarden, Zach Veach, Ferrucci, King.
Only imagine how the driver's feeling inside the cockpit, and especially Scott Dixon. I mean, they run that car so stiff, and you can just see it every bump he goes over, just how volatile that is on the body. I mean, that's...
You're happy when you're mid-pack, but not sure. We didn't have a great run. Not as good as yesterday. We weren't super stellar yesterday, but we were trying to keep up with the Honda brigade, and I think we were making some strides. We just missed it here. We didn't, I didn't do a great lap, but it wasn't a terrible lap. So we're just missing some lap time. We'll try and find that for the race and get our Hitachi car further up.
Conditions, were they difficult to compare to yesterday?
No, not. I mean, it was a lot more downforce, I'd say, with the track temperature being low, ambient being a lot lower. So that made it easier, but it did change the balance. It seemed like people were having a different balanced car than what they had yesterday.
Good luck today.
Thank you.
That's Joseph Newgarden, guys.
Sebastian Bourdais gapping a little bit, Jake Query. He's trying to find some room to bust off a flyer. He comes into your view.
He comes into the view, and it doesn't take long for that fluorescent top of that Sealmaster machine to jump out. He got a little bit loose down through turn number 6, but Nick Yeoman, Sebastian Bourdais is one of those, the combination of engine and driver, got to take a hard look at him for these races here in Belle Isle.
Yep, he's a driver who knows his way to victory lane. Left side of that car steps out the left rear just a bit at the exit of turn number 7, then makes his way through the left-hander of turn number 8 underneath the Auto Trader Bridge. Sebastian Bourdais getting up to speed here at Belle Isle.
James Hinchcliffe back in the race car, Nick Yeoman. He comes to turn 7.
Yep, his teammate Robert Wickens is the first one to get here to turn 7, but here comes James Hinchcliffe, and he is hustling that car. That bright orange helmet that James Hinchcliffe always runs sticks out like a sore thumb in that golden black aero machine through turn number 8 and around the fountain for the mayor of Hinchtown.
Looking for more speed out of the Brazilian rookie Mateus Lace. Jake Query, pretty good month of May for the driver of the 4 machine for A.J. Foyt.
I thought it was a month where Mateus Lace showed great maturity because he just seemed very comfortable in the race car. He was able to soak in and learn from his teammate Tony Kanaan. He's got Gabby Chavez behind him. There was a trio of cars in front of that duo that was getting things really pretty dicey here through 6 and 7, Mark, but both those young guys, Laced and Gabby Chavez, trying to get themselves some separation and a good lap.
About time to hit the pit road for those Firestone Reds, is it not? We're at the 5-minute mark.
Yeah, it is indeed. 5 minutes to go here. Got to get that lap in, and again, you don't want to be exposed if a red comes out, so you definitely want to take to the track here to make sure you have plenty of opportunity to gap yourself out there, get a solid warm-up lap, and I guarantee you everyone's going to have listened to that Scott Dixon interview knowing that you don't want to abuse those Firestone Reds on your warm-up lap.
On cue, activity picks up on pit road, and Dave First is keeping an eye on it.
Yep, Robert Wickens just pulled in, and that crew immediately going to work, putting on the alternate red. Same story for Sebastian Bourdais. As I hear James Hinchcliffe, he's got a fresh set of reds on. He just pulled out of pit road. Michael Young?
James Hinchcliffe, no changes on that car, says the balance is good. He put on a sticker set of red Firestone Firehawk tires, and as you said, Dave, back out to try to qualify on the pole. Ryan?
Marco Andretti in. He's been hanging around the top 10, top 5 even throughout much of the practice so far here at Belle Isle, hanging in that same general vicinity here in this qualifying session as well. A couple of tweaks to that race car and the Firestone Reds on as well for Marco Andretti.
So Marco Andretti looking for a good starting spot. And you heard a couple of drivers say already, first couple of rows is where you want to be. If you get row 4, row 5, that makes for maybe some creativity when you're looking at pit strategy.
Yeah, luckily the one good news is the fact that the new aero kit has produced a lot more passing on the road and street courses so far this year. So I think even starting back there, if you have an advantage with your race car, if you're slightly off strategy with tires, you can definitely make some stuff happen out on track. But certainly, as far as staying out of trouble, you always want to be on those first couple of rows here. As Ed Jones now heading towards turn 3, the primary passing spot really at this track. He's out on Firestone Reds, and so far not a blistering first lap here. Now I don't know that he's going to have enough peak left in the tire to go for another lap. And James Hinchcliffe, let's see him. Oh, he gets sideways. Oh, that's a lot of front grip.
Mateus Laced is headed down the back straightaway. He will have Ed Jones in tow, and just behind him, as we mentioned, Gabby Chavez. So, Nick Yeoman, let's welcome that threesome into turn 7.
Mateus Lace, the first one to go through. You hear him in the background. Then you've got Ed Jones, who very gingerly takes it through turn number 7. Not a lot of speed there with that NTT Data Honda for Ganassi Racing. Then it's Gabby Chavez, who gave that Harding Racing machine another good run, a 14th place finish 1 week ago, Mark, in the 500.
Takuma Sato among those out on the course, along with the 14 of Tony Kanaan. There's that ABC supply machine, comes into the view of Jake Query.
Yep, as a matter of fact, it goes right now through turn number 6. Talking about Tony Kanaan, then it's Graham Rahal, and then Bourdais. Interesting, Nick, because these three are going to have to be very trusting of one another. Any issue whatsoever, and all of a sudden, it could ruin a good lap for any of the three of them.
Boy, Tony Kanaan hustles that car through turn number 7 as he really attacks. Then you've got Takuma Sato and Sebastian Bourdais. All three of those cars hustling around turn 7 and turn 8. Simon Pagenaud in tow as well around turn 8.
We are continuing to watch Ed Jones put his car through the paces. He exits 4, set up for turn number 5. Before you know it, Jake Query, that NTT Data machine going to be in your view as he comes to turn 6.
Comes into view right on cue. We're talking about that machine of Ed Jones. Again, got a little bit loose. He seemed to actually lose a little bit of throttle here through turn number 6. Then behind him, it is Gabby Chavez. Behind Chavez, a guy who's been very good so far here, talking about Robert Wickens. This is a busy activity area. Ryan Hunter-Ray just went through, and then Matthias Lace. So all of a sudden, things, Mark, starting to bunch up a little bit.
And Nick Yeoman, Ryan Hunter-Ray, let's not forget, he set fast time for this particular group. He's in front of you.
He was awful fast yesterday in practice, led all drivers, and he's going to come right up on the back of Robert Wickens. So this might get a little tight here, Mark. Hunter-Ray looking for a fast lap, about 2 or 3 car lengths behind Robert Wickens around the fountain.
Oh, and I think race control is going to have a look at this, because did Robert Wickens hold up Ryan Hunter-Ray there? If I'm Ryan Hunter-Ray, I'm going to be screaming on the radio now to my crew saying Robert Wickens backed right up to me. Would not be surprised to see a penalty there, but let's pay attention at the top of the charts. Hunter-Ray gets the lap. He didn't get held up, and he gets the lap in to go a 10th quicker than Scott Dixon did in the previous group.
So Ryan Hunter-Ray now P1, then Hinch, then Wickens, then Andretti and Pagano, then Kanan, Sato, Jones, Laced, Bourdais, Gabby Chavez, and Renee Binder, the 12 in this session.
Yeah, and I'm just surprised to see Ryan Hunter-Ray still kind of chasing down the back end here. Robert Wickens almost certainly not going to go quicker on this lap. But, yeah, how about Hinchcliffe as well, pulling out a great lap? That's pretty dang cool right there.
So with time running out on the session, Nick Yeoman, Gabby Chavez will come to you first. Then you will see Robert Wickens. Then you will see Ryan Hunter-Ray to turn 7.
Last opportunity for these drivers to sling these cars around the racetrack and try to find a little speed. Wickens is trailing Gabby Chavez by about 5 car lengths. And then you've got Ryan Hunter-Ray. And, Mark, we've got a new P1 here at Detroit.
How about Marco Andretti, Anders Grove?
And how about that lap? That is incredible. Goes 1/100th of a second quicker than Ryan Hunter-Ray, and this is going to add to Hunter-Ray's frustration here, because he's going to feel like if he didn't get held up by Robert Wickens, he might have had that. And then Wickens goes to P1. Wickens at the line goes to P1.
That is an incredible qualifying session, and Marco Andretti was at the top momentarily, but it looks like Robert Wickens may get him, although we see him out on the course, and he's still on a flyer, Anders.
He is indeed, now coming around turn 8, 9, 10, 11. What can he do? He's already done a 1 flyer, and we know that these Firestone Reds typically only have 1 lap peak in them, so from a driver perspective, this is going to have to be the best lap of his life here, exiting the final corner. What's he going to say on the timeline?
He clears the checkered flag, and Marco Andretti goes to P1.
What a lap! 1:14.8. Are you kidding me?
How's that for an answer?
5 tenths advantage to Robert Wickens. How on earth is that physically possible?
What a run for Marco Andretti. My goodness, and what a qualifying session. We will talk to Marco Andretti and others when we come back.
Firestone presents Legendary Drives. It was the 1969 Indy 500 when Mario Andretti's crew couldn't get his right rear tire off. He had no choice but to drive on it the whole race, still finishing with a checkered flag and a drink of milk. Now that's legendary. And if Firestone tires are so dependable they can take Mario 500 grueling IndyCar miles, just imagine how far they'll take you. Whatever you drive, drive a Firestone, the tire that drives IndyCar legends.
From the Firestone broadcast booth at Belle Isle, this is the Verizon IndyCar Series.
207th start for Marco Andretti, and this would be career pole number 5.
Just what a lap that must have been. Whoever can grab it, please grab me the onboard video of that lap, because how you go not just a little bit quicker on a second lap on your Firestone Reds, but 5 tenths quicker on your second lap on Firestone Reds. That's absolutely unheard of. That must have been the lap of a century.
And you called it. Race control is giving a look-see to Ryan Hunter-Ray and Robert Wickens between the 6 and the 28. And we're hearing a penalty could be in store for the 30 machine of Takuma Sato. So,
wow.
Some calls by race control in that particular qualifying session. Marco's starting to get out of the car. And then they put him back in it because they need to push him down so he can go through the full pole position ceremony. And good for Marco. It's huge for him.
Indeed. And looking at the onboard footage now of Ryan Hunter-Ray, and even if he wasn't necessarily right on the bumper of Robert Wickens, still visually, when you're right, just a few car lengths behind, you do lose some downforce, and certainly impaired his ability to do another flying lap there. So Ryan Hunter-Reay is going to be pretty unhappy with that, I think. And you could see Robert Wickens actually tried to speed up as quickly as he saw that Ryan Hunter-Reay came into view, but it was just kind of too late. Ryan Hunter-Reay had so much momentum already that by the time Robert Wickens tried to get back on it, it was too late, and really nowhere for Robert Wickens to go. So it's just one of those things where you're trying to gap yourself on a 2-mile track here, 12 cars on track, and just so difficult to do.
Yeah, you could certainly see Wickens was not on what we would call a flyer, and the closing speed is so very, very quick that you could then see Ryan have to back up.
And it's also one of those things where at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway you have these super long straightaways, so you can see people coming for a mile. But here you have all these walls, so you really can't see anything, and you don't have spotters that cover every single corner here, so it can be very, very difficult to pay attention.
Let's hear from Robert Wickens. Dave First has it.
Yeah, Robert Wickens officially right now anyway, second quick. I guess there's a review going on right now, but tell me about your qualifying run, Robert.
No, it was good. We were really quick on the blacks. Kind of story of my season in quali. We always do a strong job on blacks, and we struggle to kind of get enough out of the reds like everyone else can. But maybe that's just down to experience on the red tire. We're getting better and better each time. But great job by the team. I think we should be in pretty good shape for the race this afternoon.
Qualifying this session a little bit different. These 12-minute sessions. Do you like this? It's kind of jam-packed.
It's just like the Group 1, right? It's just like the Q1 quali like we have in every other race. The 12-minute session, you do what you want. But yeah, it feels a bit weird not going into the Fast 12 next.
It's very difficult to find open track, though, in these kinds of situations.
It is. Especially once you get down into turn 7, even if there's someone there, it's so hard to let someone pass. So, I think it's just all down to the communication between the timing stand and the driver to make sure that you got enough space to do what you need to do.
Good luck this afternoon.
Thank you.
That's Robert Wickens, guys.
Previous best start here for Marco Andretti was 6th. He does have a second-place finish, and we see him getting that Verizon P1 award. And, I know he didn't finish quite where he wanted to, but I think all in all, it was more than a serviceable month of May for Marco Andretti. He had a pretty good 500-mile race.
And the biggest thing for him is, the results you can't always control, but I think he feels like he's had a genuine upswing in pace this year. We talked about it at Long Beach. We talked about it at ISM Raceway, and I genuinely feel as though he has made leaps and bounds this year, and I really think that this new car, new aero kit, suits his driving style a bit more. I think he struggled to feel the car when he had so much downforce. He couldn't really feel where the edge of the car was, but now with slightly lighter downforce, he can feel the car moving on top of the surface a bit more, and that seems to really suit his driving style. And no other place is that more true than here at Detroit, where really the car has to be dancing.
How about Andretti Autosports with 3 cars in the top 5 for race day today?
Yeah, it's just so, again, I keep coming back to how big of a struggle they've had on bumpy tracks up until Toronto last year. It was always one of those things where they knew they were going to throw away the races the moment they got to the bumpy tracks, and somehow they've been able to turn around their shock program to be not just competitive, but arguably be the best at the moment.
What do you make of the fact that the highest qualifying Penske cars will power in 6th? We've got Pagano 13th, Newgarden 14th. We'll get your thoughts on that in just a minute. Let's go down to Ryan Marine.
A very happy man. Marco Andretti, pole sitter for this afternoon's race. That was a monster lap, Marco. Take us through it.
I knew we just had to execute. Yesterday we had the pace and I clipped the wall, but we were on for a P1 lap yesterday. Today we proved that instead of just talking about it. So really happy for my guys. They did an awesome job. I've wanted a street course pole for a while. I've been outside pole so many times, and so really happy.
And this is a place where starting position's pretty important, right?
Yeah, for sure. I immediately switch the switch in my brain to try to win this race. So, a win is what's been eluding me. That's what we're going for today.
And to do it with the Auto Nation folks on your car, new for you this weekend, pretty exciting stuff, correct?
Yeah, of course, and obviously, doing it with the pink and representing cancer and all that. Great cause.
Thank you very much. Marco Andretti, his first career pole here on the streets of Belle Isle.
Matter of fact, first career road or street course pole for Marco Andretti. Let's hear from a driver, part of the Indianapolis 500, who is here in Detroit this weekend. Dave first.
Kyle Kaiser keeping a close eye on qualifying after finishing 29th. Had some mechanical issues in the Indianapolis 500. First of all, what did you think of that qualifying session, man?
It went by quick. I mean, it was pretty crazy, but what a lap by Marco. Holy cow, that totally caught me off guard. Very exciting to watch.
It's crazy. We come here, it's a different race weekend because of the doubleheader, so you throw in a different qualifying session. But I'll tell you what, that was pretty fun.
I liked it personally. I mean, I wish I was out there driving right now, to be completely honest, but it was fun to watch, and you could tell those guys are on the ragged edge every single lap. This track really pushes you to the limit.
So bumpy, too, and so physical. It's fun to watch these guys throw it around this race course. All right, tell me about your first Indianapolis 500. How much fun?
It was a blast. I mean, I had so much fun. It was very challenging. It was a hot one. The first couple stints, we were really struggling with balance, but we really dialed the car in. It was unfortunate we had a mechanical and ended my day early because I was having so much fun out there racing with those guys.
What's ahead for you right now? I know you're kind of knocking on doors and making some phone calls.
Yeah, definitely looking for partners and sponsors, trying to add a couple more events to the year. I know Juncos has some races already lined up with some other drivers, but there's still some ovals left on the schedule, and Sonoma hasn't been taken yet. So that's my home track. I'd love to be there at the end of the season for the finale, and we'll see what happens with maybe some other races for the year. But we're definitely open to talking to people and finding people that want to hop on board with Juncos.
I know it's not easy to do, but overall, taking a look at the month of May, how much did you learn? Obviously, the desire to get back and do it again next year is pretty strong.
Absolutely. It was one of the most incredible experiences of my life. Definitely the result we had at the end wasn't what we were hoping for, but I learned so much. I had so much fun driving that car, and I'd love to be back and do it all over again.
Great to see you again.
Thanks for having me.
Enjoy the weekend. Kyle Kaiser, Mark James.
Michael Young.
That was Simon Pagenaud. Simon just got done debriefing with his engineer, Ben Bretzman. Decipher. Just watching your facial expressions, trying to figure out how to get a half a second, because that's all that separated you from the pole. What does a car need?
Well, the conditions have changed, like I was just saying. It's a lot colder than yesterday. We never got the front tires to really get going, whether it was black tires or red tires. So essentially our setup in these conditions was not ideal. And we had a little issue on the third lap, so I couldn't finish the qualifying the way I wanted. But congrats to Marco. I think everybody's happy for him.
Best of luck today.
Thank you.
Simon Pagenaud will start on the outside of row number 6.
Yep, starting at 23rd will be Renee Binder. In row number 11, it'll be Matthias Laced and Charlie Kimball. In row number 10, Gabby Chavez and Jordan King. In row 9, it'll be Sebastian Bourdais and Santino Ferrucci. In row number 8, it'll be Tony Kanaan and Zach Veach. In row number 7, Simon Pagenaud and Joseph Newgarden. In row 6 will be Ed Jones and Spencer Pickett. In row number 5, James Hinchcliffe and Max Chilton. Row number 4, Takuma Sato and Graham Rahal. In row number 3, Ryan Hunter-Ray and Will Power. Row 2, Robert Wickens and Alexander Rossi. On the pole, Marco Andretti. He'll be joined on the front row by Scott Dixon. Your thoughts and impressions as we get ready to go racing?
I thought that was a great qualifying format. It actually added a lot of drama, and it was really, really cool. And these drivers certainly no slouching, knowing the fact that the lap time you set in this session is the only lap time you're going to be able to do. So I think even more pressure on the drivers.
The Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix, presented by Lear. Race number 1 will take place at 3 p.m. Eastern this afternoon. Join us for flag-to-flag coverage. The director of the Advanced Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network is Wally Levitt. Master Control Operations in our Indianapolis studios by Chris Pollock. On-site production and engineering by Rick Evans. Out on the course today, Jake Query and Nick Yeoman. And on pit road, Michael Young, Dave First, and Ryan Marine. I'm Mark James for Anders Crone. Congratulations to Marco Andretti, pole sitter for today's race. So long for now from Belle Isle.
This is the Verizon IndyCar Series on the Advanced Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network.
A.J. Foyt down the main straightaway. The checkered flag is out. A.J.'s hand in the air. He is the winner. A.J. Foyt at Indianapolis has won his 4th 5.
Okay. Here we go. Grand